Good morning, traders. This is a very special edition of my small cap market open day trading video series. Today, we are going to talk all about PHUN. You're probably wondering, did I trade it? How did I trade it? All that kind of stuff. I'm going to reveal all of that as this video plays out. But what I can tell you is that if I did trade it, it's only because it met my trading plan criteria exactly. Likewise, if I didn't trade it, it's because it did not meet my trading plan. So let's take a look first at the screener, and I'll show you why I was even watching this stock. Was it because everyone was talking about it? Was it because of some news or anything like that? No, it's because it was on my screener. It's not even because of what it did in the pre-market, and I'll explain that as well. Let me show you my screener. So I have my small cap screener. Always click these three little dots, click modify. Otherwise, your filters will not be applied. Then I organize the list by volume, and I'm only looking at stocks that are on the first page, and they must have 500,000 shares or more right at the open. So we're 2 hours into the open, so of course these all have that. And then I want to see a percent change of 5% or more. You can see that none of these stocks have it except for PHUN. So that was the only stock that I was watching. AGC at one point did have over 5%, so you'll see that on my chart at some point. So now let's take a look at the video, and you'll see that this starts right at the open. It's 9:30, and you can see there's nothing on my chart page. So I did not preload my charts with PHUN or DWAC or anything like that, because that's written into my trading plan not to do that. Why? Because you can start to develop a bias as to, okay, this stock ran like crazy in the pre-market. I'm definitely jumping in right at the open. I don't care. It's got to go higher. And maybe once in a while that will work, but more often than not, in the long run, you'll end up very red doing that. You'll probably blow up your account pretty quickly. So here you can see AGC just barely has a 200 daily moving average, but it does, and it at least traded above it right at the open. So it is allowed to be on the chart as of this moment. And you'll see me check out DWAC, which has no 200 moving average on the daily chart. That is one of the strict criteria of my plan. If it doesn't have a 200 moving average, then I don't touch it. I don't care what it's doing. And now I'm going to mark out the previous high of AGC, and I think it also made a high of day, but it never broke out over that high of day, so I was never able to take a trade. So here's PHUN. So I pull it up pretty quickly. It pops up on my screener right after the open, and I pull it up, and of course I check the daily chart to make sure that it meets my daily chart criteria to look for an entry. We'll see that in just a moment here. So here you see me switching to the daily chart. This is the first test it must pass. If it doesn't pass this test, then I don't care what it's doing. I don't trade it. It was kind of hard to see the 200 moving average, but you could see that it was down here. I guess I had a line near it. There it is right there, the 200 moving average. So obviously we're trading above it. So that means that it can be on my chart page. I can look for a trade, but there's more criteria that must be met. So right now I'm marking out the previous session high, which happened to be right before the open in the aftermarket. Obviously it broke out through that level. That's the first sign of strength. So that means, all that means for me is that I keep an eye on it for now. I also need to see a high of day established. I need to see a pullback from that high of day. I need to see that level broken. And then from that pullback, I can take a trade. So let's see if all that stuff happens. So right now I'm just kind of putting out a line arbitrarily. Yeah, it is matched up with this high right now, but this thing is in a halt. And what that means is that this may not be the first high of day. So I just have this here for now, and you'll see that I adjust it as this thing comes out of halt because the price continues to move higher. So here it is. Let's watch it in real time. Let's see, it should be. So here I'm just checking AGC, and you can see that that thing is doing nothing right now. So I think PHUN comes out of halt in just a moment here. There we go. So now we're out of the halt, and you can see that this is still part of the initial run of the day. It doesn't matter that it was in a halt. And so now I have to bring up that level to wherever the first high of day is going to end up. And I have this white line out here to remind me that this isn't the only criteria that must be met to take the trade. I must see a second high of day. And right now we're still waiting for the first high of day to be established. And yeah, this thing moved like crazy. If you're a new trader, it was probably extremely tempting to jump in anywhere, but that's just not something I do, because I know from over a year and a half of trading that that doesn't work in the long run, that you're going to get burned eventually by doing that. So I'm just waiting for my chart criteria to be met before I take a trade. So now obviously we're in a halt again. So let's fast forward. This could be the high of day. It definitely the first high of day, but I don't think it was. We'll see as this thing comes out of the halt the next time. So again, this line is just kind of in place temporarily. Okay, so here it just came out of the second halt. Let me back it up a little bit. Okay, so it still has not established its first high of day because this is just a straight ascending run. There has never been a pullback all the way through this run. So that means that, I mean, at the very minimum, I have to see like a double top on a green candle before I could consider it a high of day. And we haven't even had that. We've just had continuously higher highs on each candle. So the criteria has not been met to take a trade yet. So now we're marking out the supposed high of day, which it still isn't, and when this thing came out of halt. Now, here's an important tip. I use my hotkeys to get in, and you could see the way the price was moving on this stock. It was extremely volatile, and normally I have my stop loss at 10% below my entry and my take profit at 20% above my entry, and that's just arbitrary. That's just to keep those orders away from where the price is currently moving so I don't get stopped out or I don't hit my profit target too soon. Now, normally that is a very wide range, and I'm nowhere near where the price is moving. But in this case, some of these candles were moving over 20%. So obviously, I could have been easily stopped out, or my profit target could have been hit accidentally before the chart pattern plays out. So I extended all of these while I was waiting for this thing to come into halt. So it was, I think, 20% stop loss and 40% profit target. So that way I had enough room and I could move them into the appropriate places once I was in the trade. So let's take a look here, fast forwarding. And so now it's out of the halt. It went up to $24 in a matter of seconds. And let me just show you that in real time, because, you know, people that were trying to get in this thing out of the halt or get out of it, out of the halt, would have had a very tough time because this thing moved so quickly. Here, I thought it was playing. Sorry about that. So it should come out of the halt here in just a second. There we go. And look at that. It was at $20, and now all of a sudden it's at $23 in the matter of a second, I believe. So if you were just trying to jump in and out of this thing, it would have been extremely difficult. So this is why I have a very specific chart criteria that must be met, a very specific setup. And if that is not met, then I don't take a trade. So here we finally get to mark out the first high of day. So does that mean I could take a trade yet? No, my trading plan says that once the first high of day is established, then I need to see a pullback from that level, and then I need to see that level broken. And that means that a second high of day must be established. That's what this white line is for. And once that second high of day is established, then I can get in on the first pullback as soon as a 1 minute candle makes a new high. So that's my whole strategy for these small cap stocks. And on PHUN, it made that first high of day, it pulled back, it halted on the way down. Look at this move, it's huge, from $24 all the way down to $18. That's $6 per share. So if anyone jumped in on that previous candle, they probably got burned pretty bad. And I'm sure there was a lot of other people that were holding, that got in earlier, that just didn't know what to do. And if that was the case, that's just simply because you don't have a trading plan. So let's fast forward and see what happens. So now this is 9:55. I'm going to have to go about a half an hour into the future just to see this thing come out of the halt. So one thing that I enjoy doing when I'm just sitting here watching charts is I'll check the Webull chat. It's always very entertaining. And if you want to see, you know, people kind of making silly choices, definitely check out the Webull chat, especially when stocks like this are going crazy. And that's what I did to kill the time, waiting for this thing to come out of the halt. And look what happened when this thing came out of the halt. Let me just show you that in real time. So it halted at 1835, and I believe in just a few seconds here, you're going to see it come out of the halt. So 1835 at 9:55 a.m., no trading was done between 9:55 a.m. and right now, which is 10:41. Nothing happened. You couldn't get in or out of this thing if you wanted to. Didn't matter how many shares or what price you set or anything like that. You cannot buy into or sell a stock during a halt. And there it comes out of the halt all the way down to $9. And again, if you're a brand new trader and you don't know what you're doing, you might think, well, this has got to be the bottom. It's going to bounce up. And I think it does go up a little bit here, but it's certainly not the bottom. And you'll see that in just a moment. And the main, I'm not really bashing anybody that traded this differently than I did, but the thing is I'm sure there were many people that had no idea what they were going to do, and they just bought and sold randomly because they got caught up in the excitement of this ticker symbol. And, I'm not saying that I never did that in the past. I definitely did, and that's what I'm trying to kind of help you guys avoid in the future. So let's fast forward and see what else happened with this thing. So now it's starting to go up a little bit. It gets halted a couple more times even on this run. It only goes to about 1440, and I think from here on it starts to pull back. It comes all the way back down. Eventually goes even lower. So here's a nice descending ABCD pattern, which shows weakness. But again, nothing is really stable in a stock like this, so you can't really guarantee any patterns that will work out. But what you can do is have a plan and just stick to the plan if you did take a trade on this. So let's move on. And you can see this thing is now heading down, making new lows for the day. It broke the low of day. It halted here at 706. It comes out of that halt eventually and goes even lower. And then I think it does pop back up at some point. And if you haven't figured it out by now, I did not take a trade on this stock. Why? Not because of the volatility, not because it was getting halted, but because it did not meet my chart criteria. You could see this white line up here just sitting out in space. So that means that this thing never came out and broke over this high of day. It has to do that in order for me to take a trade, and it has to pull back from that level. And then as soon as a 1 minute candle makes a new high off of that pullback, then I could have taken a trade. But since none of that stuff happened, there was no trade for me to take. All I could do was sit and watch. And this was the only stock that I could watch because you saw the screener. It wasn't like I was just dead set on taking a trade on this thing because of the volatility or the percent change or anything like that. It's because it was the only thing that met my screener criteria. So let's take a look at where the chart is now. I have no idea what this thing may or may not do for the rest of the day. My plan says that I have to stop trading at 11:30 a.m. and that is just something that I've come up with over a long period of time that I feel comfortable with. I don't want to trade any longer than that. And look at this thing. It's just going sideways, doing nothing. That's not to say that it's not going to shoot up later in the day or maybe go back way down later in the day. Anything can happen. And I'm not claiming to be able to predict what these stocks do. And this is why I have that very strict criteria built into my plan to tell me when to trade and when not to trade, because I don't want to be predicting what these stocks might do. So anyway, hopefully this video was helpful to you. The main message that I want to get across is no matter what stock you're trading or if you're trading options or it doesn't matter, you need to have a strict plan and you need to trade that plan in every single trade, no matter what's going on. You could have something crazy happening that doesn't maybe happen but 2 or 3 times a year. It doesn't mean you should change your plan. You need to stick to your plan every single day, 100% of the time. There's no perfect traders, but you can trade your plan perfectly, and that's something you should aspire to do. And then once you're in a trade, because it met your plan criteria, you have to always take your stop losses and honor your profit targets. And if you do that, in the long run, you could be green. Take care.